from Portland, Oregon. I currently make an original piece of art every single day, and I share my journey online. And today, I also have the Gamblin team with us. Pete, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Pete Cole. I'm the president of Gamblin, and I'll be here to moderate, and I don't think I'll actually be needed at all. Erica's fantastic. And Mary, for our product specialist from Gamblin, is also here, and she'll be answering your questions that you may be typing in, and we're really happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks, Pete. So like I said, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask. There's no bad question at all. We have the experts here. So let's get started. I just want to say, thank you to Gamblin for having me here. I have been using Gamblin forever. About 10 years ago is when I first started oil painting, and they invited me out to their facility. And I have to say, it was a really cool warehouse. And I was, first of all, shocked that they invited me, but flattered. And I was surprised at how much love that they put in every single paint tube. And what's cool is when they are, producing the paint, they actually use a vintage toothpaste machine. How cool is that, really? So, like I said, this is all made in Portland, Oregon. And so it's made locally. So let's get into it. Let's go over the supplies. So this is the supply we're going to be using today. And I wanted to show you what it looks like at the store, because I know that the most common question is like, oh my gosh, what paint am I using? Or what paint should I use? And what I love about this, like I said, is they put so much love into each tube to make sure that you're getting the highest quality of material. So this is what it looks like. And it comes with pretty much everything that you need to get started in painting. What I love about this, especially what makes this so special, is that you just have to buy this. You don't have to buy, all these tubes of paint. This comes right here. But I mean, you can, but this is really what you need to get started in, like color mixing and just getting started. So let's go over this. So first of all, it comes in this wood panel, and I'm just going to take these out because I want to show you how great this is. So this wood panel is also made in Oregon. It's made, Pete, you were saying it's made from a company in Salem, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so like I said, everything you need to get started, it comes with this panel, and it's actually really great quality. If you look at the seams, it's perfection. So let's go through what's inside. Okay, so the first thing is you get this solvent-free gel, and it's your medium. And I have a little surprise for you guys. Next week, I'm going to be here with Gamblin and Michaels, and we're going to be going over all your questions about mediums. So I don't want you to get worried that there's something I'm going to miss, because we're going to cover everything so that you feel 100% comfortable with everything. Okay, so we have the solvent-free gel and this tube. And then you have in every black, which is great, but I'm also going to show you how to mix your own black, but this is also great in case you need it. And then ultramarine blue, it's actually the blue I currently use in my palette, and it's fantastic. It's a great blue. You cannot go wrong. Phthalo green is a great green, and I have a confession about phthalo green. It terrified me for so long, but now it's my favorite green, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid to mix with it. But I've realized that phthalo green is probably one of the most mixable greens where you can get all your beautiful shades. Next, we have two yellows. We have like an earthy yellow, yellow ochre, and a cad yellow light, which is fantastic. So this earthy yellow is great, but the cad yellow light gives you that electric yellow that you're looking for. And then we have cad red light, and I also use this in my current palette, and fantastic. If you want to have that like electric pink color when you mix it with white, this is it. And then Alice Crims, perfect. Like this is great when you want to hue something, like to tint it with red. It's great for like creating skin tones. Then we have titanium white, basic, amazing. I promise you, buy the big one, buy the big tube, can't go wrong. Okay, So we have everything there in regards to paint. The next thing that you need, we have Gamsol here. This is our mineral spirits. What I personally love about Gamsol is, first of all, it's fantastic because you can travel with it and you can use it. And we're gonna put it in our jar. And I have a jar with a lid, and this is kind of what you want. And you can use like a jar with a lid that you have in your home, but you just wanna make sure that it's airtight. And you pour it in there. And what's so great about what Gamblin does is they do these like little mini jars, but if you wanna just try it out, or you can get a big one. So put it in there like that. And then I just wanna give you a few little tips about this. When you're done with it, you just close it up and you save it. It's perfectly good. You never throw it out. What will happen today is we're gonna use it and all of the gunk is gonna go on, like drift to the bottom, and that's it. It's fantastic. Okay, let me open this up. So, okay, so we have our panel, we have our paints, let's set up our palette. So I just wanna say with oil painting, I am a self-taught oil painter and I'm super non-traditional. So if you want to do something that feels comfortable for you, definitely do it. Because I think a lot of time oil painting is such an old discipline, and a lot of people have practices and things that they do in their own practice, but that might not work for you. So have fun. Let's get to painting. Yeah, so don't worry about it. So if you do have questions, let us know. Okay, let's set up our palette. So we're going to be using I don't think I'm going to be using all the colors, but, and you can set it up however you like. Some people set it up from warm to cool or do a rainbow, but, and the reason why there are some artists that set their palette up a particular way is because they want to know where each color is without looking at their palette. I don't necessarily do that, but some people like that. And I just wanted to share that technique. Okay, so we have our green. Okay, oh, and I want to tell you too, so let you know that there is a PDF for the avocado photo reference. I have it for you for free to download. So if you don't have it, it's there for you whenever you'd like. And if you want to share with me afterward on Instagram what you made, I would love to see it. I'm sure all the Gamblin people would love to see it too. Okay, gosh, you know what? Nothing beats opening up a fresh tube of paint. I think it's kind of like one of those favorite things. Okay, I'm not gonna be putting black on my palette just yet because I don't think I'm gonna be needing it. And I'm also not gonna be using the medium this week because I feel like mediums we're gonna go over next week, and you don't need a lot of medium in order to make a successful painting. Okay, so as far as brushes, I got some Artist Loft brushes. I'm gonna be using, I just picked up a couple of packs, and I get a lot of questions about what kind of brushes I should be using. And I just want to stress, like, the number one thing is get a brush that feels good in your hands and that the bristles don't fall out. I mean, it sounds kind of basic, but it's true. And so, but I totally use economical brushes because then you don't have to necessarily care for your brushes. You can just like have fun and paint. Okay. So I'm going to be using this number 6 Artist Loft. Oh, and I want to show you about the canvas. I don't want to forget. So I also got the Artist Loft canvas. It's a gallery wrapped heavy duty canvas. And these are fantastic, totally professional. If you paint anything on this and hang it up, it's going to look great. Okay. So I have it here, and then I have my avocado piece that I did. So let's get started. So as far as mixing, I'm gonna just dip my brush, and I'm gonna actually put this over here so it doesn't reach. And I have a paper towel here because I'm using that to clean up my brush. Okay. Like that, like so. Just getting it wet, just kind of moistening the bristles. And I have to say, avocado, we consider it a vegetable in our house, even though it's a fruit, because my son is so anti-vegetables right now. So There's been a lot of avocado eating in our house. Okay, so I put a little bit of mineral spirits on my palette, and I'm going to do a little red here and then a little green. And those are like my complementary colors. And it kind of makes this maroony. Oh, let's add a little bit. And let's add a little bit more. And I want you to encourage you to kind of experiment with color because that's the whole fun about oil painting, in my opinion. Okay. And then I'm just going to do like a loose sketch. And I just want to let you know that I'm like not the most technical person when it comes to painting because I get too excited that I want to just start and get to the painting. But just get a feel, you know, like your painting just has to be believable. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. That's what I always tell myself. All right. And what's better than when you open up a fresh avocado and it's like perfectly ripe? Okay. So I got my sketch down. It's looking good. Okay. So let's mix up the greens. So if I want to change, if you can look at my brush and you can see, oh, the color's there, but let's get it clean. And this is how you clean it. You give it a swirl and then you just dab it, right? And that same to go when you want to clean your brush is you just dab it and then you clean it and get everything out of it. And then you just use soap and water to clean your brushes. And I think the big thing is with oil painting is that everything doesn't have to be perfectly clean and perfectly like clean water and stuff because everything is going to get dirty. So, okay, so I just made some black with green and red. And then quick clean of my brush. And there's still green in there, but that's okay because I'm working with green. So green, yellow, and see, look how pretty that is. And that's really bright. But let's just do the edge like that because I like it. And just like go around. And if I want it a little bit, what they call gray, is that's when you add the red to it. Oh, did I forget my white? All right. You guys should have told me. All right, white. Okay, so, but see how that pretty, it's like this army kind of green. And then we just do some white. There, how pretty. So I'm just outlining this. Just kind of get a shape. And then, so off this green that I made, let's add a little bit more to get that. And then if I wanna, and do you see how I'm kind of like spreading the paint and then you can just go back. And the biggest thing is with oil painting is that less is more. So, I mean, I love to get right in there, but the one thing I have to say is that a really common question is why is oil painting so expensive? And I always say it's not because the reason why is the paint, you don't have to use that much of it. It goes a lot, like you will use a tube of paint for months. And the other tip is like, let's say I do this project today and then I decide, oh, you know what, I'm just going to wait and I don't really want to paint. I'm busy with work, school, whatever. And then, you know, and then as long as you tighten your tubes 3 or 4 months later, your paint tubes are still fresh. Like you can still use that exact same paint. You know, what hardens the paint is when like the oxygen gets into the tube. But if you tighten it real tight, you know, you can just pick up where you left off. That's not a problem. Okay. So I want to get it more yellow like that. And I like that. And so I have a shadow over here. Okay. And I want it more yellow. And let's see what this looks like. Let's add a little bit of that. A little ochre. And then what I'm doing is I'm just mixing it on here, but I really also like to mix right on the canvas. And you can do that too. And then I'm just going to clean my brush because it's a little green for me and I want it more yellow. There. Just like that. See, and then I got it right there. That's the color I want. And like, I think the big thing too is when you're mixing color, you don't always have to get it exactly how the photo is. You can kind of use your imagination and kind of get it where you want to get it, right? And I have to say, I just want to say that this brush that I'm using from Artist Loft is pretty fantastic. I like it a lot. All right. Okay. So I really like that color I made. So I'm just going to make a bigger batch of it because usually I make like a little batch and then I kind of work off that, see if I like it. There. And you can straighten out your lines if you want to. All right. And then I'm just doing a quick little dab. Like the reason why I add a little bit of mineral spirits to this is what it does is it spreads the pigment out. So it makes it more fluid but watery. When you get more into mediums, that's when it kind of fattens up the pigments for the paint to lay on top. Okay. Oh, I have that shadow right there that I covered. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick line here and then I'll just go back in with my shadow that I missed. Just so that I have a little map to what I'm doing. There we go. Don't worry, we'll darken it up. Okay, let's get this other side. And I want it a little bit more green. And so I just, when I'm adding color, you just want to take a little dab, just like dab, because it's easier to add a little and then see where it goes versus like dumping it in there. So, which is really hard for me because I just like to get it all up in there. I like to always go more, but less is more. You can do it. Okay, so let's finish coloring this avocado. So Pete, do you like avocados? Do you? No?
Not not quite as
No.
much, not as much as my kids do.
What? I've never met a person that doesn't like avocados.
I like them when you paint them.
Oh. Yeah, my husband doesn't like avocados much either, but he likes it on toast. Like or in things. Like if it's like a sandwich, like a BLTA kind of thing, but not like solo. Okay, let's get that color in. Okay. And I'm going to do a little shadow work just so I know where I'm putting my shadow. So for my shadow, I'm seeing some purpley kind of shadow. So, okay, I'm going to show you this. It's a little embarrassing. Okay, maybe a lot embarrassing. And I showed the team Gamblin today and I'm like, this is my color wheel that I've had for over 12 years. So it's been beat up a lot. But I guess it's from Oregon. It was made in Oregon too. And I got it at Michael's, I want to say, like, I mean, you can see how old it is. But what I like about it is it just gives me a quick color reference. So for, like, I'm doing yellow. And so my complementary color is like this violet purple. And so then I kind of know what is going to gray it out and kind of cancel that color and what could make a terrific shadow color. So let's do it. Okay, so I have my yellow down. And so for purple, how do we make purple? Blue, red. Okay, and it kind of makes this violet. So let's see what it does when I add it to here. See, look how pretty, you guys. Perfect shadow. I'm giving away all my painting secrets to you guys today. And then if I want to smooth it out a little bit more, like make it thinner so it's not so dark, right? There we go. Okay. And then kind of wherever you see that shadow on there, and then let's put it here. And then I kind of, if I'm looking at my reference photo, it's a pretty deep shadow, but you don't have to go too deep if you don't want to. And I kind of want to add a little bit more yellow because it's kind of looking brown to me. And the funny thing about color is that you can mix it up here on your palette, but then when you put it all with the colors, it could maybe tell a little bit of a different color story. Because I'm kind of a visual person when it comes to color, that, you know, you think a color is good, but then you actually really see it when you're putting it on the canvas or on your surface. Okay. So I have that. This is for my seed side. And I kind of want to make it a little bit more bluey so it looks more like a shadow versus too red, because I noticed that it kind of looks more that. And you can just play with the color. This is where you can kind of have fun in the shadows, right? Okay. And then I'm also going to put a little here. And then I want it to look a little deeper. So let's make it a little bit more blue. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to get that edge a little bit better. Okay. So I have this part and then I can go back to, and so now if you look at your palette, you can see all the different pools of color that you made, and you can just go and see where you need to fill in, right? Just like that. How, I wish I could see everybody's paintings because I love watching in process. How does everyone's painting look, Pete? Does anyone want to show their work on the Zoom call? Can they do that?
Ooh. Oh, we've got some great ones out there. I feel like I see Deborah, I see Denise, Sandra, Jacob, Adrian. There's a lot of great avocados out there, Erica. They're going to give you a run for your money.
What? No.
Yeah, no, I see more. You
Okay,
guys
so
are
I'm gonna start on
terrific.
the seed right here. And I just put this part that I use my shadow, I just added red and I just wanted to jump that in. So,
Valeria, we see you.
oh my
That's another
gosh,
great one.
how cool.
Fabulous.
Oh my gosh, you guys are gonna have to show me. Show me on Instagram. I'd love to see it. Okay, so I'm just filling in my seed. And like for this part, I just want to stress like we're just going to fill it in and then just add some highlights and stuff on top. I don't want you to get too stressed about it. It's going to look awesome. And you can see that I missed like color around the edges, but we'll clean up those edges. That's no problem. Okay. All right, so I'm just making my seed here. And I'm just going, the big trick with doing like circles and shapes is you want your brush to kind of go around. So it's more about how your eye is looking at the painting and it kind of dances around the seed. I think that's the best way to describe it. So like I'm making the seed and you can see with my brush that I'm going like this, boom, 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 because my eye is going around like this. So if I went like this, down like that, you're not going to get that like kind of shape that you want to get. And I encourage you to like totally experiment with this. And then if I look at my reference photo, I can see that, I'll get my reference photo. Okay, so my reference photo is, I can see right here that this is the reflection of the avocado. So you can just grab some. And you know what? Your paintbrush is all dirty, but that's okay. Don't even worry about it. This is why you get all of those custom made kind of fun colors. Okay, see if I can get more. And this is my shadow side. And so I'm going to do a quick clean of my brush. And then let's get the highlight side right there. And then I'm going to use this for the top. Okay, good. Okay, so next little trick, little tidbit I'll give you guys. Okay, so how to make this seed look like it's sitting on top, right? So you want to get really close with your color. And if you press really firmly into your surface, right, it pushes that brown in a little bit. But you don't want to get too close because then your paintbrush gets dirty. So it's like that. Yay. Okay, let me fill in that part of the avocado. Okay, this is a little too electric for me. So let's remember what I told you. How do we grade out? We add some red. Okay, there we go. You see that? See what it did? Okay. And I want to do a little bit more because it's a little thin. You'll get to know it. You just have to practice. But that's like where the fun is in practice. Okay. So here is that. Let's add a little bit more. And you have your base color. And so that's why I say less is more, because then you can tweak it as you go. Because if you add too much paint, that's like so much commitment, you know? And you don't really have to commit. Okay. So let's get that top a little bit more like it lays on top.
For folks out there, I have to say I've never seen so many people painting together at the same time. And I've seen a lot of things in my life, but this is up there. And so I would just say if you're having any trouble keeping up, don't worry. I would have a hard time keeping up with Erica too. Getting a whole painting in an hour is something that, you know, is asking a lot. So if you feel free to come back to it and don't feel like this is someone that you have to be able to do in an hour, because if I go plein air painting outside, it probably takes me an hour just to get set up. So if you feel a little rushed, just breathe and, you know, come back to this. Painting will always be here for you.
That's such good advice. And like, the thing is like, I also think too, it's like, just have fun. Don't worry about the details. I think, like I said before, I think the biggest thing that people worry about with oil paints is like having to do things a certain way. And I think the biggest thing, if I could give anyone advice on how to get started with oil painting, is to just paint. Just paint. Trust me, you'll learn all the things if it applies to your practice. I paint every day. And I always call myself a lazy painter because I feel like I take so many shortcuts where, you know, like I use a disposable palette that I can throw away. Oh, sorry. Oh, so I use a disposable palette that I can throw away, and I use, you know, anything that makes my life easier for oil painting. So anything that you can do to save a step, don't worry about it. Like I promise you, like if you want a professional looking painting, just get good paint. We're going to talk about mediums next week. And in a couple weeks, we're going to be talking about varnish, which is really the real secret on how to make your painting look like a professional grade painting. I can't believe I'm telling you guys my secrets, but that is probably the biggest one. Okay, so shadows. Let's do the shadow of the avocado painting. Let's go. And what I did was I just took that green I mixed and added some blue. But if you want it, like, let's make it a purpley, because remember we looked at our color reference. And then just like that. But you know what? You can make it any color you want. If you want your avocado to look like it's sitting on top of your piece, like it looks like kind of more of a 3D effect, you're going to want to go cooler in the back. And that's always kind of a good rule from getting things to look more 3D. Okay. So filling in my blue.
There's a few questions out
Yeah,
there
let's
that
do it.
I
Let's
just
do
wanted
it.
to address. So there's a few questions from people about, are oil paints toxic, or to talk about them versus other paints.
Mm.
When you're working with oil colors, you're working with pure pigment, and you're working with linseed oil, American farmed linseed oil, which is the same as flax oil. So if you've ever eaten a muffin with flaxseed on it, or oatmeal with flaxseed in it, that's what you're painting with. It's basically as dangerous as a salad dressing. Um, the other question, there's a few folks asking sort of, hey, what's the difference between Gamblin 1980 oil colors and our artist grade oil colors, or other value paints?
Mhm.
And we're a company of painters, and there's 25 of us here, and we really tried to get our 1980 colors right for painters starting out, painters that paint big, and painters on a budget. And what we're trying to give you with them is the real experience of color at its maximum, and really feeling the difference from pigment to pigment as you mix them, as you tint with them, and to really have that experience of oil painting and really feeling luscious oil color. Our approach is different than other color houses. We use the same pigment that goes into our artist grade colors. There's no substitution of something cheaper. And as Erica mentioned, we make these colors under the same roof here in Portland, Oregon, with the same care, the same equipment, the same people. And there's just a bit less pigment in them, and a bit more linseed oil, and a small amount of colorless pigment, which is basically marble dust. And that's how this has been done for centuries.
Magic dust. I always think the
Yes.
marble dust is kind of like magic dust.
So the idea is you're really going to experience true color, but you're also going to get a great value. And we want folks that are out there painting, and I see some young people out there, um, and some kids out there painting, and we want you to be successful, and we want you to really feel color.
So I have a question, Pete. So I know like a lot of people think like a question that I always get asked is like, oil painting is so toxic, but I know that you kind of touched on this, like how it's not toxic, but how has it become more modern? Why do people think that way? And how has it changed? Is it just changed because of the use of better products?
It's a great question. I mean, oil colors themselves, as I mentioned, it's flax oil, and pigment, and so there's no issue there. The challenge is sort of what mediums used to be made from. And in the olden days, there was a lot of turpentine around. And if any of you have ever been around turpentine, it's no fun. And it actually doesn't even do a very good job of helping people to oil paint. And what Robert, our founder, has done, and what we've done as a family, is to move painting into the future, and to get all of those harsh solvents out of the painting process, out of your studio, out of your house, and to replace it with Gamsol, and also with some solvent-free mediums that we'll talk about in a future class. So if you want to work without any solvent at all, not even Gamsol, we love you. We'll help you do it. Gamsol's terrific, but it isn't the only way to thin color, and it isn't the only way to clean. And we'll talk more about that in a future session.
So I have one more question, Pete. So one of the things that I love about Gamsol, and let me just show everybody the bottle, is that you can travel with it because, and I know that on the Gamblin website, you can print out the travel stuff for this, right? Is that still there?
That's correct. And yes, technically you can fly with Gamsol, although I'm not too excited to get on an airplane these days myself anyway, and I can't guarantee that you won't have a problem with TSA, but we provide information on our website and a note you can print out and put with your materials and your paints if you put them in your checked bags.
Want to. And I travel with it and I printed it out and I've never had it taken away. Um, and I love it. And I just want to say that. And I know it's like one of those things where it's like coming into the modern times with it, but it makes me feel better knowing that it doesn't have any harmful things, that you can travel with it and that it's okay. All right. So I'm just like, I've been playing around with the color here and just messing around. I don't know about you guys. Does everyone have their shadows up? Should we do some background? Okay. So I'm just kind of been playing with the greens and messing around with it. And that's the fun thing is that when you start getting into like blending and stuff, you can just you could just go down the rabbit hole and just play and play and play. Okay. So in the piece, my practice piece, I did it blue because blue is an easy way. Like if you do a cool color, it's an easy way for your still life to sit on top. So I'm just going to do it again because I love ultramarine. It's so pretty. And I just did some blue with some white. Mm. And I'm going to show you a really fun trick once I get my blue down.
And for those of you who are asking, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. We had this set up yesterday and it was sunny out, and now it's a little more cloudy here. So
Yeah,
let me know if that looks better.
it has been so cloudy here this summer. So in Portland, what they call this time of year when it's really gray, in summer, they call it January. Like it's like an extension of winter because we're still waiting for summer. Okay. And I could use a bigger brush if I want to, or I can keep going with this. Maybe I'll do a bigger brush. What do you guys think? Have you guys been switching your brushes or just using one brush? I think it's always kind of fun to use different brushes, but it's also great practice to just use one because then you get to practicing on how to change your color. Okay, and I promised you a really fun trick. I'll show you. Let me get the color in. So I'm doing this blue. And if you guys don't finish, or if you're still working on the avocado, don't even worry about it. You can keep going once this is all over. Okay, so I'm adding some more. And remember, I said less is more, and then wait. And if you look at my reference photo, I have a bunch of stuff going on in the picture. I have a plate and some lemons and some other fun stuff. And you don't always have to put that in your composition. You can always like make it more simple if you want to. Okay, I'm just filling it in. There we go. Filling it in. Okay, so this is the trick. Okay, so I painted really thin. And so the rule in oil painting, the big rule is fat over lean. And we're gonna get more into that next week when we go over to mediums. But what fat over lean means is like your super, super thin layers go on the bottom and then your fat layers go on the top. And when I told you like how a lot of people have rules in their practice, this is pretty much the only main rule because it's due to chemicals within the paint. So if you understand that one rule, then you kind of know when you can kind of work around it. And that's the whole point of using mediums and using mineral spirits. Okay, so I have a really thin layer. So the cool trick is, okay, so I take some white on the side and a teeny bit of red. So I'm going to make like a little pink and mix it in a little bit. And then I'm going to put it right down here. And what that's going to do for your composition is your eye is going to go here first. So when you look at your painting, it's going to go from here this way. And I like the idea of that because my shadows are here. And so it's like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like your line of sight. Okay, there we go. All right, so you guys, we have about 5 or so minutes left, or 10 more minutes. So if you have any questions for me or for Pete or the team, let us know, or you can save them for next week. Okay. Let's. And the more that twinge of pink that I'm adding, the more my eye is drawn to that. And it's also a warmer color. So it's like, that's also why it's kind of bringing your eye to it. Okay. So I lost some of my avocado shadow, or my avocado, the outside. Let me use this other brush. Okay. And so now, since I have all my color down, I can go all around like the edges, like the things that I kind of want to make sure that they pop out. Okay, and another little secret. So we went over kind of the complementary colors. So green is a complementary color and to red. So if we just take, and I'm not gonna clean my brush, I'm just gonna dry it out. And then just take a little bit of red and then go around this edge. And look, do you see how it kind of makes your avocado sit up more? Oh, we have a few more minutes, yeah? Great.
So there's a couple questions from the group, Erica.
Yeah.
One of the questions for people is, do you always use a reference photo in your work?
Yes, I do a lot of reference photos. It just makes it easier for me to play with like the composition. But usually I start out with something that I've seen in real life, and then I just snap like a cell phone photo. Like these are all cell phone photos. So that PDF came from my cell phone. And that's something easy that you can just do at home. I would like to paint from life more, but it's really hard with my kids. All right. Okay. So I did that red edge, and I'm kind of playing around with the color and kind of touching up, but you can also take a little red and like, let's make it a little bit pink and see what it looks like. And you can see in the reference photo, like this edge right here. There. How cool is that, you guys? And if you want to pull the lip up even more, like that lip, you could even darken it here.
Erica, there's another question out there. Folks just kind of asking about any tips for time management when you're painting or managing your studio
time management? What? You know, time management is really a challenge for me. I'm gonna be honest. It is so tough. So when I first started making art every day, I used to wake up really early in the morning. Like I would wake up at before the kids would get up or when Everett finished his feeding. So I'd be up around like 5 o'clock in the morning to do painting because I like to paint first thing. Now since Everett is going into kindergarten, which as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about, um, that, now it's like I kind of wake up around 6, but my daughter who's 8, she is usually pretty chill, but she likes to wake up early. So I usually, how it works for me for time management is I usually like to paint first thing, or I get the kids like their breakfast and whatever they need to start their day. And then I hit the studio, and I usually get more studio time in the afternoon. So it's kind of like chunks. I'll work like 2 to 3 hours, and then, um, you know, I'll have to do some things with the kids and then go back into the studio, and it's kind of like 2 to 3 hour increments for me.
There was another question out there, and I'll try to answer it, but it was basically, what do I do when this gets hard and I'm struggling a little bit? And I think that's life's great question. And there's a few tips, but one of them I would encourage you. This one's a kind of a personal one, but a lot of people we talk to will say, "Oh, you must be an artist," and a lot of folks say, "Oh, no, I'm not an artist. I'm not very good at this." And so what I say to people is, I'm the greatest living painter on Northeast 14th Avenue in Portland, Oregon, on the west side of the street between Knott and Tillamook, and not counting my children. But give it a try sometime and call yourself the greatest living painter in whatever you consider your sandbox to be. And sometimes that helps to get unstuck. At the end of the day, it's so rewarding, and the paintings you create are the things your family's going to want down the road. But it doesn't come easy every day.
I think it does. I think when I first started, I think I'm looking at it a different way. Like I looked at it like, if how do I make my imagination come alive? Like how do I make it come real in my paintings, right? And I think the not fun answer is like, it just takes practice and it takes time to figure out your style. And don't give up. You can do it. I have tons of days all the time where I feel like I'm like, I can't believe I made this or whatever, and sometimes, most of the time, it's just in my mind. Like it's just me being like super critical of what I'm making because I'm so deep within my painting, or maybe I feel like I didn't get the color right or the composition right. But I think, like whatever you're making, go all in. It's beautiful. You just might be so into it that you just can't see it quite yet. And, it's half the fun is the experience of making it too. Okay. And I'm just like deepening my colors. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to work on my seeds some more. So does anyone want to show us some progress pics to Pete? Like, anyone want to show up what they're making?
Okay, Denise, I see yours. Deborah, Portugal. Jacob again. Adrian. Oh, I like the plate and the background on those avocados. Yep, that's awesome. And then Tate, and I'm butchering all your names. Okay, there is a beautiful young lady with a couple of fabulous avocados. 0Z6TVC. You look
Guys.
fabulous, and your painting looks fabulous, sweetheart. Holy cow. Julianne, I see yours. You went big. Holy mackerel. Let's see. There's a few more here. Blanca, Valerie, I see yours again. Let's
Yeah.
see. And Stella Wanless, I see yours.
Oh my
Very
gosh.
nice. You went big too.
You guys, it
And
looks
then
amazing.
Sarah Hein might be, I can't see your whole last name, Sarah Heinbach, but I see the blue background and the plate on your avocados. That's awesome. Oh my God, Chelsea Stern, I see yours. I'm telling you, Erica, you and I better step it up here.
Oh my
Next
gosh.
week, we better bring our A game.
Oh
Aaron,
my
I see
gosh, you
yours.
guys.
And Tina, and let's see. There you are, Tina. Yep. There. Nice. Fabulous. Fabulous. Lucy Monroe, I see yours. Holy cow, we've got to have at least 100. No, there's more. Abigail Perez, Jessica, I can see yours with the blue background. Very nice. And Sarah, like putting in kind of a wash, a thin wash on the background. Very nice. Teacher Laura, nice. Looking good. Fabulous. Holy cow. Maribel, Saul, Yacht Yin Lam, I see you. Nice job. Really nice job. Thank you for inviting us in. Jordan Miles, I see yours too. You're another, you got to be under 15, right? You, nope, over 15. Oh no. Okay. Sorry about that. And then Tiffany, I see you. Yep. Stacy Herring. Nice with the orange background. Andrew, holy mackerel. Really terrific. Lou, I see you. You're on your iPad, but I see your avocados. I like that background and the edge you've got on those. That's
Cool about
great.
this though, Pete, is like you can see everyone's different interpretation of something so simple as an avocado, like how they use the color and kind of their approach to it. And like that's the whole fun about oil painting is it doesn't have to be a one thing, one size fits all. It can go so many different directions, don't you think?
Do and you show that in your work, but one of the things Carrie and I have been painting more still life, and one of the nice things about still life is they stay still.
They
And
don't move.
kids move like all over the place. And if you're painting outside, light moves and clouds move
Mhm.
around, and it's a total pain. So I would, if you're out there and um, you're beginning, and if you're struggling
Mhm.
or you're frustrated, look for things that are fun to paint, uh, and that have some color and contrast, and just simplify, simplify, simplify. You don't have
Mhm.
to paint a whole bowl of fruit. Paint 2 oranges. Paint 1 orange. Paint a lemon. Don't cut the lemon. Just
Mhm.
that makes it all harder. Just simplify, 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 and then you can always make your painting and your life more complicated, but but um, but simplify. And if you find yourself struggling to finish things or they just get frustrating, break it down, and break it down into smaller subjects that have more color and just are more fun to paint, um, than a much more complicated scheme where you don't have much contrast and you don't have much variation in value from light to dark.
Mhm.
That makes everything harder.
Yeah, and you'll get the hang of it, like half of it is just playing, and I know like people don't use that word a lot with oil painting, but I feel like because there's so many choices, that's what makes it so fun. So there isn't one right way. There's a lot of right ways to get there, and that's the whole fun of it. And I hope like I'm just providing you with some tips to just make it a little bit easier.
One other question out
Yeah.
there that people have asked about. There's been a lot of questions in the text about Gamsol and how it works. So Gamsol is your solvent. It thins your color during your painting. You can use it for brush cleanup after your painting,
Mhm.
and we've designed it to be totally recyclable and reusable. So when you're done, a number of you asked about the glass
Yep.
jar. That
Yep.
jar the pigments will settle to the bottom
Mhm.
overnight, and the top layer will be absolutely crystal clear. All the
Yep.
pigments will settle out, and you can just pour that off into a new container, and you can really keep reusing that and reusing it over and over. Again, at some point a long time down the road, you may get a little smell of kind of linseed oil that's gone bad. And at that point, you could refresh it and with new Gamsol, but you can make it last a very, very long time, and that's what we want. It saves you money,
Yes.
and
And you don't have to throw it away. Like this, like I'm just showing everybody, this is still good. Like, so what we're going to do is just like what you were saying is just, I close it, just get a glass jar with a lid and it'll be all down below. And you were saying that you can just pour it into another container, or you can be lazy like me and just do one container and still use it. Like I use the same container like every single time. I don't even like, some people do, but you don't have to. I mean, that's a good practice, but I'm just saying you don't really have to. And some people are like, well, it kind of gets muddy. It kind of gets muddy. And so don't worry about it. Okay. Like it's okay to play in the mud. That's what I say. It's okay to get muddy. It's okay to get dirty. Permission granted. Right. And I think we're getting close to being out of time. So is there any last minute questions that we need to talk about? Or is everybody getting pretty close to being finished with their awesome avocado piece?
One other thing as a follow-up to folks, and if you have questions, this is the beginning of a conversation with us, not the end. Yeah. And so we'll be back with 3 more sessions, and then you can also email your questions to Mary, Mary, at gamblincolors.com. One caveat is we've been working like crazy through this pandemic, and Mary is finally going to take a day off work, and that will be tomorrow. And so she's going to go drive and see some family. And so we won't get back to your question until early next week, but we will get back to you. But right now, she deserves a break. And
we can also save them for next week, because we'll be here what day? On Thursday next week, 3 p.m. So sign up. I'll be here, and we can always answer all of your questions and more. And we're going to be talking about mediums next week, and we'll be going through a few different kinds of mediums to kind of get started so that they're less intimidating, so we can play with the paint. But bring your questions. We have the experts here. And I think what's super important is that we do have the experts here that can answer your questions. So it's not like just Googling it up and looking it up on a website. These are like, you'll get the answers that you want or need. Okay. So are we all done, you guys? Yeah. Okay. So we're all done. Thanks. Thank you, Gamblin, for having me. And thank you, Michaels. It has been fantastic. I can't wait to see all of your work on social media. Be sure to tag us. And what's the Instagram for Gamblin? It's at...
We're at Gamblin Colors.
Yeah, at Gamblin Colors.
And I'll put that in the text.
Yeah, do it. And then to follow me, if you're a new friend, it's at Erica Lee Sears, ErikaLee, Sears like the store. So we'll see you guys next week. And like I said, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, or you can save it for next week. Bye, guys.